Good evening. You are tuning into AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. DPM says Perikatan Nasional has the support from 31 BN MPs and ROS declares UMNO's postponement of its party elections invalid. That's coming up. "31 Barisan Nasional MPs have declared that they will continue to back the Perikatan Nasional government. This is according to Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. In a live broadcast today, he said the MP's decision is in line with the Yang di-Pertuan Agong's decree to keep the administration intact until the vote of confidence in Parliament in September.
Hari ini seramai 21 ahli Parlimen telah membuat pendirian yang juga disokong oleh 10 lagi ahli Parlimen yang tidak dapat menghadiri perjumpaan dan 10-nya menyatakan persetujuan dengan pendirian semua yang lain. Jadi terdapat 31 ahli Parlimen yang menyatakan pendirian yang sama. Pendirian kami adalah ahli-ahli Parlimen menjunjung kasih dan menjunjung titah Kebawah Duli Yang Maha Mulia yang di-Pertuan Agong, iaitu memperkenankan supaya kerajaan hari ini meneruskan pentadbirannya dan akan menentukan keabsahan kerajaan hari ini di Parlimen.
Sabri added that several of the MPs who are holding cabinet posts would not resign en masse to prematurely trigger Perikatan's collapse before Parliament could sit. How does this change the political landscape in the lead-up to the much-anticipated confidence vote in September? We speak to political analyst Professor Dr. Kartini Khalid to weigh in.
Going back to what Ismail Sabri's reaction to support Tan Sri Muhyiddin in carrying his duty as Deputy Prime Minister, it is really a good obligation. And the entire 31 MPs that hold their duty as representative to keep people's need and safety first must be recognized. I think here Zahid has to differentiate, should be able to differentiate between MP's duty, which is really binding with the law, and be able to differentiate with the party interest, UMNO interest. In this case, defying Zahid to oblige the duty as MP is not breaking any law, except morally looking at Zahid, whom I think the members of the UMNO is now questioning the integrity of Zahid as the president.
Dr. Kartini added that currently there is an unclear majority on both sides and that the Yang di-Pertuan Agong will be referred to as a final solution to maintain order within this political bickering.
Well, it is already an unclear majority in the parliament. That is why the quest for power keeps threatening the executive level. UMNO MPs in the parliament are 38 altogether. If 31 MPs of BN are clearly with Perikatan Nasional, UMNO has less than 8 people supporting him. If we carefully analyze, the remaining 8 are the court cluster, most of them. So I could assume that more effort will be clear on how to carry out the National Recovery Plan in the next month. If the executive power is still unsettled, the constitutional monarchy will be referred to as a solution to maintain order, meaning that vote of confidence will retain Perikatan Nasional. If there is an issue, I think the answer will be going back to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, where the process to appoint an interim Prime Minister will definitely follow the Constitution.
Higher Education Minister Datuk Seri Noraini Ahmad is the latest cabinet member from UMNO to resign. In a statement, the Parit Sulong MP said she resigned to follow the party's recent decision to withdraw support for the Perikatan Nasional government. Noraini said the party decision to withdraw support from PN and Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin will be made in the upcoming parliament session. Earlier this week, UMNO President Datuk Seri Ahmad Zaid Hamidi announced that the party no longer supports PN and claimed that it has thus annulled its legitimacy as a federal government. Noraini was the second cabinet member to have resigned, citing the party decision, after Datuk Sri Shamsul Anwar Nasara resigned as Energy and Natural Resources Minister. The Registrar of Societies said that UMNO's decision to postpone its party elections by up to 18 months is invalid. It has ordered the party to set a new date for the Supreme Council election as soon as possible.
In a letter to UMNO, ROS Director General Jasri Kasim said the postponement was not legitimate as the term for Supreme Council members elected in 2018 had ended on June 30th. He added that ROS's decision was based on meeting minutes from a Supreme Council meeting on July 7th after its term ended, where it decided to postpone the party polls at all levels. On June 25th, UMNO Deputy President Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan said the party would be postponing its elections for up to 18 months in line with its constitution. This, he said, was due to the current COVID-19 situation after consulting the Health Ministry and the National Security Council, adding that the party had informed ROS.
How will ROS's decision disrupt UMNO as a party? Political analyst Professor Dr. Kartini Khalid explains the role of ROS in making such decision.
It is fair to say that the ROS does not have the power to amend, revise or add anything to UMNO's constitution. If anything, it only has the power to enforce it. UMNO can always request for extension from ROS, but unable to comply to ROS requirement since April 20th made UMNO an illegal political party. Therefore, once it is illegal, every action and position is no longer valid.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. More countries are extending COVID-19 restrictions to curb the spread of the Delta variant. South Korea is among the latest to do so. Prime Minister Kim Boo-kyum has extended curbs for 2 weeks, which he said is crucial to stamp out cases and ensure a safe reopening of schools.
Seoul and surrounding regions have banned private gatherings of more than 2 people after 6 p.m., while any gatherings of more than 4 people are prohibited nationwide. The number of severe COVID-19 cases in South Korea has doubled in 3 weeks. Majority of patients, authorities said, were the young and unvaccinated. Meanwhile, Vietnam's capital Hanoi will extend COVID restrictions until August 22nd after new clusters of infections were detected in the city of more than 8 million people. Hanoi has in the past 2 weeks ordered people to stay at home and banned all non-essential activities, but a threefold rise in infections has prompted tougher measures. In the Philippines, thousands of people crammed into COVID vaccination centers in the capital Manila after false news spread that unvaccinated residents would be deprived of cash aid and barred from leaving home during a 2-week lockdown starting today. Manila and 3 other regions are under lockdown until August 15th. An 8-hour curfew is imposed in Manila starting 8 p.m, with only essential businesses and workers allowed to operate for the next 2 weeks.
Singapore's Health Ministry said it will start easing COVID-19 restrictions next week. From Tuesday, fully vaccinated people will be allowed to dine in restaurants in groups of 5. The easing comes as the government expects more than 70% of the population to have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by next Monday, when the country celebrates National Day. Singapore has one of the fastest vaccination rollouts globally. The government will also resume entry approvals for vaccinated work pass holders and their dependents with travel history to higher risk countries from Tuesday. Leaders of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's political party have endorsed him to be a vice presidential candidate in next year's elections, paving the way for him to stay in power for 6 more years after he steps down in 2022.
The move needs to be approved by the Party General Assembly, which meets next month. In the Philippines, the president is limited to 1 6-year term. Duterte's term ends in June next year, but he said he is thinking about running for vice president, which political observers and critics say could be a backdoor to the presidency. Next year's elections will be a referendum on Duterte's policies, including his war on drugs, in which thousands of people have been killed, and the handling of the pandemic.
Thousands of residents in California's Nevada and Placer counties were evacuated after a fire that erupted on Wednesday grew to a threatening size. California's wildfires have burned through more than 400,000 acres of land, outpacing last year's record season.
According to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, the number of acres burned in the state this year has jumped 151% compared to last year. Nearly 6,800 people have been ordered to evacuate in Nevada and Placer counties. The active fire, named River Fire, had destroyed over 80 homes and buildings in both counties. Meanwhile, California's largest active wildfire, the Dixie Fire, destroyed about 75% of the historical town of Greenville, also in the state's northern region.
Meanwhile, in Greece, hundreds were evacuated by boat from an island near Athens today as the country battles a 4th day of wildfires. Temperatures have been over 40 degrees Celsius all week, with gale force winds expected to spread the flames further.
Coast Guard vessels and tourist boats picked up 631 people since yesterday from 3 beaches on the island of Evia. The flames have burned through a vast area of pine forest since Tuesday and has now reached the coast. Athens were clouded by thick smoke from wildfires which burst back into life yesterday after dying down earlier this week.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and the Astro AWANI app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. We'll see you next week.